Punishment versus discipline. Punishment versus discipline. There is a conflict going on in many of the households of my people, between the parent and the children, um, and a lot of that is stemming from a lack of understanding the nature of punishment and the nature of discipline. Um, Punishment is basically the act of serving up pain in order to grasp someone's undivided attention. Discipline is actually the result of personal adherence to principles. And when I say principles, I mean uh, personally established laws that are used to govern over one's thoughts, words, and deeds. So these two things, they work in tandem, but they are different to a degree. Um, so let me start off by saying this. Parents, because I'm speaking to the parents. Parents, so that you might understand your position in this. The word parent that we're using today, in more ancient times, you know, the spirit, the meaning of that word would have been translated as adept, master, educator, guide, nurturer, cultivator, right? The word child that we use today in more ancient times would have probably translated as student, initiate, beginner, neophyte. We need to understand these two positions. Okay, once we understand our position, it might assist us in functioning a little better in that position. Parent, um, when approaching your national treasures, also known as your children, one of the things you want to do is turn down vanity. Turn down the vanity. You do not have it all figured out. Your mama didn't. Your mama's mama didn't. Your mama's mama's mama didn't. That's not how this works. The gifts of the understanding are the treasures of the great God, and he appoints to everyone their portion in what measure seemeth good unto himself. You have a portion of understanding. Your job through reflection and meditation and things of that nature is to cultivate that portion. Cultivate your own garden, right? And then be prepared to hand over your portions of understandings that it might be of use to your brother man, sister woman, and this includes your national treasures, aka your children. Now, in order to do this efficiently, one of the things you're going to have to do is cure yourself of a disease known as the new illiteracy. The new illiteracy is a failure to activate the ability to unlearn and relearn. We have some learned tactics that were handed down to slaves by slaveholders as it pertains to receiving desired effects out of something or someone. And it stopped at training. Training without understanding and reasoning and things of that nature is good for beasts of burden and slaves. Training without understanding and good reasoning, collectively handed over in the capsule of education, so that those who receive it might break it down and use the different aspects of it to build for themselves an understanding, to build for themselves better reasoning, to educate themselves with it, right? Training lacking these things is good for beasts of burden and slaves. If your child is neither of these, then you need to unlearn and relearn for the sake of humanity, for the sake of peace and harmony in your household. With this said, punishment. Again, punishment is the act of serving up pain in order to get someone's attention. So, for example, there were times where the small child might have been told, don't touch something. Then you look over and they're touching something, like the hot door of the oven. Maybe they're headed towards the socket in the wall. And so you pat them on the behind. And what happens in that moment, that pain that you've served up, that physical pain, that mental pain, because sometimes it doesn't physically hurt them, but it startles the child so much that they even come to tears over that fright. All of these things are pain, mental or physical, it's pain. That pain gets their undivided attention. Now, when I say undivided attention, that's the same as saying it is now due season. The soil is ready. So now, what the cultivator, the gardener, the teacher, the master, the adept, the educator, the parent, now what they're supposed to do when the soil is ready is plant the seed that unfolds as understanding, reasoning, right? Ultimately, education. It unfolds as these things on the soul of the child. You have their attention. But what happens, since we are using tactics that were handed down to us, is we stop at just handing over the pain, and then the divine reasoning we hand them is, I said so. That's what you do to an animal, and that's what you do to a slave. If your child is one of these two things, you've been doing a good job. If your child is neither an animal nor a slave, listen. So what has to happen is you need to be prepared, after gaining their undivided attention, to educate them with your portion of understanding. When I say educate, I mean to convey the spirit of that word, not just the word. The spirit of the word educate might be better expressed as educare. Educare is the ancient Moorish Latin term, and it stood for bringing out that which lies within. Well, God is in your child, and we bring forth the attributes, the qualities of the God within a child by delivering them that which we call education. And this education rides on the wings of your love, care, understanding, reasoning. It doesn't ride on the wings of I told you so. Fear rides on that. And when someone is made to fear you, they learn not to develop discipline. They learn how to do what they want to do in order to bypass punishments. So you're not assisting them in developing discipline. What you're actually doing is assisting them in developing that sneaky, underhanded, conniving, lying. Parents ask the child, where did you get this from? Where'd you get all this lying and sneaking and slithering in it? You got it from your training. So after you deliver the pain, you need to be prepared through your developed understanding and reasoning and willing and things of that nature to deliver them the seeds that will put them in the position to develop discipline within themselves. That's something that the parent has to understand. You do not discipline your child. You do not discipline your child. Your job is to put your child in a position. Your job is to inspire the child to develop within themselves discipline, to develop within themselves that quality that we would call discipline when it is expressed through their character. You don't give them that. That is a God quality. God qualities don't come from outside of the individual. They come from within. Your job is to assist them in becoming the carpenter that can build such things for themselves. Jesus worked with his Father to become a carpenter that he might build for himself. His Father didn't do all the work.